Esther. I think that's how you pronounce your name. If not, I apologize. I'm doing okay. I know I haven't been on here in on here in almost a year probably. And I do have reasons for that. I thought that I would explain those while I'm doing my medical stuff. So the main reason is just health. Obviously, I don't know if you can tell, but my last video had nothing like medical like on me, and obviously I do now. And so you're probably wondering what happened, what's going on, that type of thing. So I thought I would kind of explain it this way. I have wanted to go live, or not go live, but I have wanted to make a video for a few months now, probably. But I just don't have the health to do that right now, unfortunately, like I would like to. So it started back in July of last year. I ended up having to have emergency surgery to replace my shunt tubing. It had broken, like basically disintegrated, because it had been in for so long, and so they had to replace it. And initially, we thought it was going to be an easy thing. We thought initially it was disconnected, and so it was going to be an easy fix, just reconnect it. Well, when my surgeon actually went in to look at it, it was disconnected entirely. It was basically disintegrated because it had been in for so long. Because I think they last up to 8 years, and so basically it was just time for it to be changed to a new one. And so he left the old one in because he said in order to completely get rid of it, he would have had to cut me from here all the way down. And we didn't want to do that because he said it wouldn't hurt anything to keep the other one in. It would finish disintegrating, and that would be that. And so he put the new one in. Everything was fine. And then disaster striked. I developed an ear infection, which, I wasn't the type of kid that got ear infections really all that often. And so we really didn't think much of it at first. So that ended up happening. And then after that ended up happening, I went to the doctor, and he said I had the beginnings of an ear infection. And so he gave me an antibiotic. And so I took that. Long story short, the antibiotic did not work like we thought it would. And so I think the course was a week long or something. And so after that week, I went back, and because it wasn't better. And so I went back to the doctor, and they thought it was allergies. And so they gave me a 7-day course of an allergy medicine, or of a different antibiotic that was, I guess, specifically made for allergies. I don't know. Anyway, within the probably the 3rd or 4th day of taking it, I began to notice I couldn't hear very well. And she had also told me that I had fluid behind my eardrum. But I noticed in my other ear, I couldn't hear very well. Everything just sounded very muffled, and it was really weird. And at first I thought, okay, well, maybe that's just due to the fluid and things like that. But then I started thinking, well, no, that doesn't make much sense because it's the opposite ear. And so initially I was like, well, maybe this is an ear, like a hearing issue. Maybe it's not really like a physical ear thing. And so if that makes sense. So I made the decision to make an appointment with an audiologist to have my hearing checked. And when I did, he really didn't say a whole lot. The only thing he said when he was explaining, he didn't even really explain a whole lot. He just said, you have bilateral mild hearing loss. And bilateral, meaning both ears. But he said it's really mild, and so there's not a whole lot we can do about it right now. If it gets worse, come back. If not, get it rechecked in 2 or 3 years. And I said, okay. So within probably a year, it got worse because I was put on gentamicin, which irrigation, because I was basically having non-stop bladder infections, or UTIs, that were pretty severe each time. And one of them actually almost killed me. I was in the hospital with it for 8 days. 7 of those days were on IV antibiotics to get rid of the infection. I lived with it for 3 months, and my body began to shut down because it could no longer fight the infection. So there was that. So later on, I noticed a week after being discharged from the hospital, I began to notice I couldn't eat or really drink anything without some sort of pain or like nausea or something. Basically, eating wasn't as easy as it used to be. And I didn't quite understand why. So, and even in the hospital, it wasn't easy. So, I made an appointment with a gastroenterologist to talk about it and try and figure out what the problem was. He told me, he was like, I'm going to be straight up honest with you. I don't know what's wrong. He said, but there is something there that needs to be investigated further. And so that's what we did. So the first test, which ended up being the only test that he ran at first, was a CT scan with contrast. So we did that, and on December 3rd of 2018, it was discovered that I had SMA syndrome. SMA syndrome is superior mesenteric artery syndrome. Basically, if you look it up on Google or anything like that, you're gonna get what I like to call the textbook answer. So, everyone that has SMA syndrome, it's like anything else. Everyone's gonna be affected differently. For me personally, my SMA, which is your superior mesenteric artery, is wrapped around my small intestine. This prevents food from being digested easily or at all. So, yes, I can eat orally, but I don't really gain much from it because either it doesn't stay down or I'm not able to tolerate enough. Liquids specifically are really hard for me. so I'm basically chronically dehydrated because of it. I'm in the process of getting IV fluids started for at home to try and help with that. I'm also on TPN, which is actually what I'm doing right now. I pick clips. If you don't know what TPN is, it's total parenteral nutrition. So basically, it's everything you get from food, like all your vitamins and nutrition, just through an IV. Specifically a central line, which is what I have right now. I had one in my arm for about 6 months, but somehow it fell out. I don't know how, but it did. And because of that, I had to get a new one put in, which is this one. Not this one specifically, but one in this exact area. It lasted 2 weeks. I went to change the dressing on it, and it had a bio patch on it, which we discovered that I can't tolerate the bio patch or the ChloraPrep, so we no longer use either of them. But they put the bio patch on it when I was in the hospital when they placed it, because I had been in the hospital this past time for a week, or 2 weeks, almost 3 weeks, but it had been a week that it was placed, and so the dressing needed to be changed. And so they came and changed it, and they put the bio patch on it, and so I went to change it the next week, and long story short, the bio patch got stuck on the line and it pulled the line out. So this is my third one in less than a year. It is in the same exact spot the other one was in, thankfully. So that's good. Okay. I'm also now on oxygen, as you can obviously see. This has been a thing for almost a month, probably. As far as when I'll get off of it, we don't know if and when I will. But when I was in the hospital this past time, because again I had another UTI that ended up in a hospital admission, unfortunately, because I was also peeing blood. And so, like, it got to the point that it was just straight blood within the course of 5 hours. And so I went to the ER by ambulance, and we discovered I had a severe UTI. And so, anyway, we treated it with IV antibiotics, and then I don't remember much of what happened, but what I do remember is I was sitting in the bed, the hospital bed, and all of a sudden I started coughing really hard, because I've had a consistent cough for about 6 months now, and we couldn't figure out where it was coming from. And so, anyway, all I remember is I started coughing really hard, and then from that came with Then I started throwing up and coughing so hard. And then my head started hurting really bad. Again, from coughing so hard. And then all of a sudden I couldn't breathe. And I didn't know why. I just knew that I literally could not breathe. So I ended up, they had to call a code because my oxygen went down to like 82. And then from there, they had put me on oxygen, and I haven't been able to be taken off of it. And so unfortunately I was sent home on oxygen. So does anybody have any questions? Hi, baby.
Here I come. How can I come? And then I come in well.
You want me to come in the room? Okay. I'll be in a minute, okay? Say hi.
And then come in the
Okay, say hi.
Then I go and run around.
Okay, say hi.
Hi.
Are you gonna be shy? You ain't shy. You're anything but shy. Yeah. Come here. Okay, you can go in there. Okay. You wanna stay in here?
You come.
Yeah, I'll be in there in just a second.